Well, welcome everybody to another David Chronicles update. We're really excited to be sharing with you just some of the latest things that have been going on. We did an update back in August before we went and did our principal shooting in Northern Scotland. And so much has been happening. So I have
Oh my
Jason
goodness.
here with me
So much.
on
Hey
Zoom.
everybody. I don't have as fancy. I just want to state up front that I don't have as fancy a setup as Krystle does. She's got like a dual camera. I think she might even have a drone in her office. I'm not
Yeah, that's
sure.
exactly it.
Now that we don't
Yeah.
have a studio anymore, I'm
Yes.
going coming beaming to you live from the back of my house.
Yep. Don't worry, it'll get fancier as time goes on.
Oh,
Um,
so fancy.
But Jason, it has been a while since we've done an update, since we've
It's
shared with
true.
people like
Yeah.
all the ins and outs of what's been going on. Why don't we kind of rewind our minds, which is actually a bit of a chore because so much has been happening.
Yeah.
And let's go back to what it was like for you landing in Scotland on August 14th with
Oh my
Tad.
gosh. Like pre
Pre-filming.
well,
This is like the fresh
pre
moments of being in
Oh
Scotland.
gosh. Well, exciting, terrifying. We were wondering, we were still rewriting the script and figuring out where we were shooting. So it was, I think the thing is, I think I've never done a creative project where you actually feel entirely prepared before you go. And this was no exception. And part of that was
Mhm.
that we spent a lot of the time ahead of time just raising the funds. And so we kind of came into it going, all right, well, let's do it. Let's go. And so there was some trepidation, some excitement, like what's God going to do and what's going to happen. And so I think I was both exhilarated and terrified at the same time, and wondering, of course, if we bit off more than we could chew, wondering if it made sense. And so yeah, it was, and eager for everybody to arrive, and of course, then the whole crew got delayed by a day because the flights got canceled. So lots of that kind of stuff. So I was very excited, but really kind of nervous about what was going on.
Yeah. And just so people understand a little bit of the process here, like, so we had our entire crew, we brought them over from Canada, majority from the Toronto area to Scotland. So we flew everyone in, but in order to be as prepared as possible, Tad and Jason arrived on the 14th. I actually had arrived a little bit earlier than
That's
that in
right.
Scotland, but I dragged my family kicking and
You did.
screaming with
You
me.
did. Yeah, they roughed it.
And we had just a few family days together, and then I arrived on the 17th, and we arrived together on the 17th at Freswick Castle, which is like the far, 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 far north. When I
Yeah,
tell people
way
how
up
far
there,
north, I'm like, well, if you take like the Highlands and then like go double
and
that,
then go north. Yeah, way.
like we were way north. And so the three of us had a couple of days together
Yeah,
to prep. 2 days after I arrived, the group of us arrived at Freswick, like we had longtime supporters of ours come and arrive as well, and they graciously came to cook our meals. And so they
yeah, yeah.
arrived a
Incredible.
day and a half ahead of the rest of the crew so
Go
they could
Harry and
set up the
Eve. Yep.
kitchen. Yeah, it was amazing. So it was kind of like a bit of a slow start, which felt actually for me on the producer side really good because it felt like I had a bit of time to breathe, to soak up the environment, to
Yeah.
feel like,
And you hadn't been
okay,
there yet.
because I
Tad and I
hadn't
had
been
been
there
there,
yet. You and Tad had been there,
but
but
you hadn't come. Yep.
yeah. And then we did a bit of, you and Tad had done a lot of location scouting in the couple days you'd had together. So then I jumped in and tagged along, going to all the different locations,
Right.
seeing what's what. Um, we started working on finalizing your costume because you had brought a few different options.
That's right.
And so we were doing costume checks and all of that stuff. So it felt like we were ready to go as much as we could. This
Yeah.
this whole experience has felt a little bit like birthing a baby, let's be honest. It's like, people tell you you can never be fully prepared until you've done it. And having done it once, then you kind of go, oh, I know what I would do differently the next time around.
Yeah,
That's
there was a lot of
exactly
that.
how I feel.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah. So, Yeah, and as Jason mentioned, our crew got delayed. So there was
Yeah,
that lovely moment of going, "Oh, you have now waited so long at the airport. You should have landed at your first destination," 'cause it
yeah,
was 2 flights for them. And that ended up giving us an entire extra day as a
of,
team without them,
of prep.
but put us a day behind in
Yeah,
prep,
it was
which
moderately stressful.
moderately stressful to say the least. Yeah, so we kind of came in feeling on that end a little bit more nervous, a little bit more like, oh crap, like we gotta the pressure's on. Now we have no choice but to move fast. And so we had planned a 7-day shoot, or 6 main days, 1 half day. Of the 8 days that we were there, we were like flat out working our
Yeah,
tails
the whole
off
time.
and
Yep.
the whole time. So when you think about the whole shoot filming experience. What are maybe just like, and really like, don't think you have to tell everything about these moments, but what are like maybe 2 or 3 stories or moments that kind of come to the top of your mind quickly, other than the midgets?
Yeah, midges. Well, we're not going to talk about the midges. We're definitely not talking about the midges. Um, 2 or 3 stories. There's just a couple of uh, just I think a couple of great moments. I mean, okay, I think the best part of the story was um, having all these incredible people together in one place. I kind of
Mhm.
every kind of dinner, I would look over and go, how did this happen? How do we have all these incredible folks, creative, artistic, generous, thoughtful people, from our crew to the people that prayed for us on the ground, to people who cooked for us and took care of us. Like, just I think that was the kind of overwhelming. I had overwhelming gratitude for all the people who were willing to be part of what we did. So that was like a huge thing. And I don't, it's not a small thing to find, sometimes with projects like this, you hire people, they come and they do their job, but it felt way more like we were kind of climbing Mount Everest or some kind of high hill in Scotland together.
Yeah.
Um, and it was really incredible. It was really incredible. I think the other cool part was that 3 of us had our boys with us, and so that was really fun to see, like, these different generations getting to be part of it
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
And there's just a couple of, it was some great moments that happened, despite, the one I think of, this is probably one of my favorite shots in the film, is when David realizes that Saul has died and that he's now the king. And we had arranged to do a Steadicam shot in a certain way where everybody was supposed to follow me down into this kind of very tiny,
Yeah.
very valley, and I heard go right into the camera. So somehow we got things mixed up, and so the shot, I kept moving forward, and they were just stumbling back with the Steadicam, and for whatever reason, that shot looks like $1,000,000.
It's amazing.
And
What's
yeah,
so funny about it, which you didn't realize until after the shot was completed, was that literally Tad and myself were in this thorn bush, um, with like
I didn't
thorns
even know
like
that.
going through our pants. Yeah, no, and we were trying to like, and I was trying to keep him from like really falling over
Falling off the cliff because there's a
Because then Brian
three-story
was gonna
cliff on
fall
either
like,
side. Yeah.
yeah. So like, so there's a few of us like and Tad and I being the main ones that were trying to protect Brian from this thorn bush. So we took the brunt. So that every time I see that scene, I just think about the thorns sticking in my butt.
Yeah. And it ended up, it ended up being one of the most beautiful shots in the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I so yeah, there's a lot, a lot of things where we had hoped for certain weather and we got that weather. There was a lot of that in northern Scotland. The weather changes every 5 minutes, and so it could have been a horrible shoot. We could have had a terrible weather shoot the whole time,
Hmm. Hmm.
and graciously, for the most part, there was one half day that didn't work out, but we had the weather we had hoped for, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think of top stories or moments of the shoot for myself, I think it's that feeling of everybody working together to the same common goal and
Hmm.
everyone believing in it together. Like you said, you can hire people to come in and do a job and they can do the job, and you can never feel like you bonded together and that they really embrace the goal for themselves. Like it just feels more or
Right.
less that they're just doing the job, A to
Yep.
B kind of thing. But definitely that the feeling and the sense of the crew having their own ownership over the
Yes.
project, and not just liking our idea and wanting to see our idea happen, but bringing themselves into it and like really taking ownership of it.
Right.
That was a huge plus for sure. I'm really curious for you, Jason, having so I guess thinking again just about the shoot itself before we get into the post-production side. What would you say that there are any lessons learned from how we did what we did? Things that, you're like, that was really good. I learned that lesson really well, or like this part didn't go as well, but that was a lesson learned.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think, we did, I feel like we accomplished the best version of what we could accomplish with the time and resources we had in
For
general.
sure.
Like I
For
feel,
sure.
you always need an extra 6 months. I would have liked to have an extra 6 months to work on the script. Um, but at some point you just got to go for it. And so we went for it. So there's that. I think that probably the biggest thing that I hadn't factored in was how much emotional energy it would be to be the writer and involved in some of the direction and to be the producer and actor especially, and then throw in dad on top of it. Um, it was a lot of hats, and at the end of the day, I would just be done. Like I would be just, I didn't have anything left, and so I don't think I was aware. I don't think I thought of how much
Hmm.
energy, emotional, spiritual energy that it would take to to do the shoot itself.
Hmm.
And so I came home just exhausted. So I don't know if I'd change anything on that. I just the awareness of it, that it kind of was so all encompassing, was I hadn't anticipated. And so
Hmm.
I think that would probably be the big one.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely, I saw that in you. And the
I
hard
feel like
part
I'm
of that,
still recovering, and it's like
yeah,
months later.
I think the hard part of that too is that that's one that um as an assistant producer, Tad as director, filmmaker, like that's not something that we could come in and do anything about, right?
No,
Like the only thing
no,
we could do is like do our jobs to the best of our abilities. But
which you did.
like,
You know,
yeah, I think for myself, looking back at it, like you said, I don't regret any of the choices that we made.
right?
And I love what we have accomplished and what we did. I think, if I think about like the next time, because that's, let's be honest, this is me. I'm always thinking about the next time.
Yep,
Like,
yep, yep.
and I do look at it and say, okay, Skeleton Crew was, I think, 100% the best choice. And I think for most of our style of projects, a Skeleton Crew actually serves us better because it allows for a creative freedom that you don't get when you start to add a ton of people in to
Yep.
the mix. However, that being said, I would have added an assistant person, like administrator, kind of, because I think there's a lot administratively each film day we could have kept track of better, that
Yep.
would have enabled us to pivot even stronger with throughout each
Yep.
day.
I agree.
And I would add 2 more days to the film shoot. So we could
Well,
have like had
with
a
a
day
break,
off in the
yeah,
middle where we checked all the footage, like where the crew can take like a chill day, and then we can check all the footage, we can see where we're at, we can start to see how things are shaping, and then at the end we could have like a pivot day where we could like do all the pickups and things like that. Like I think if we
yeah,
had 2 or 3 extra days, there's certain things we could have done that just weren't possible because the time constraint was so short. But that those are, lessons learned. I think the other lesson that we learned so well, and you already kind of mentioned it, is we We knew that bringing people in to pray was going to be a benefit,
Oh man. Yep.
but having experienced it, like actually
Yeah.
experienced in the
Boots on
moment
the
the
ground,
benefit.
praying for us,
Yes.
praying for me,
Yes. Yeah.
especially as my brain was transitioning from all these different hats into actor. And like I had to be
Hmm.
on, and there was a
Hmm.
couple of moments where I was not on, and well, both Deb and Andy and you
Hmm.
prayed, and I immediately was back in, and
Yeah.
that was, well, it's the evidence is in the footage. Like that really is the evidence when I look at it. And I'm, of course I'm trying to be objective as possible, but it feels like I was able to be connected to what's going on, and that the work
Hmm.
was strong. So life changing,
Yeah.
like having those folks. And we've done it on our next project, as we've been shooting some more of our Psalms microfilms.
Yeah.
We intentionally brought in people to pray during this experience on site as well.
Yeah. And I think like that's something too, like as Christians, we always talk about the power of prayer, right? And like we're praying people and prayer is so powerful. And then like for Presence Creative Arts and for you and I, like we talk about being co-creators all the time. And
Hmm.
that is a huge part of like our pedagogy. It's really the foundation of it is that we are
Right.
co-creating. And I
Yes.
feel like bringing in our prayer partners on the ground, not just sending them emails, not just having a phone call, but actually having them physically present was the first time that we in a much greater, larger way, walked out being co-creators. And like as you're saying, like the evidence is in the footage.
I completely
Yeah.
agree with you. It was not life changing. Well, it was life changing, but it was so significant for our process that we won't do it again without that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And then a small side note is that I think two other people that we could have had there, and they might have been able to be the first one, is like a continuity person. Would have been really really good to have, and we had discussed it. And then hair and makeup person, and not for my own vanity, but some of the shots I look and I was like, darn, I wish I would have known it looked like that. And the good news is that it's a lot of traveling and moving and time changes, so it's not that big of a deal.
The
But
difficulty with hair and makeup, specifically with hair, as
yes,
someone who was looking at your hair,
I know.
it was the wind. The
Yeah,
wind. Like
it was so
we would
much
fix
wind,
your hair and then it would just like literally blow right back. And
blow
you're
all
like,
over.
but
So it would have been,
having an experienced hair and makeup person would have known how to deal with that. And then it would
yes,
have been a different scenario. But
yes. So that I, but that was, we also were doing it on a certain budget, so
mhm.
that's why we didn't do those two things. Um, So yeah, you learn. Oh, maybe it was worth a couple extra grand to have people there. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Eh,
We'll see.
we'll see.
We'll see.
It's okay.
Well, thank you everyone for coming along with us on this journey of an update, giving you a little bit more of a glimpse behind the scenes of what it's been like to create the David Chronicles. And we look forward to keeping you in the loop. If you don't already, make sure that you follow us on social media because we do a lot of updates on there. As then coming back here to this channel and seeing what other updates we release in the future. All right. See you later.
Yes, and if there are people watching this right now and that would like to support the project, like
Yes.
really, that we're going to be using this teaser trailer to go after more funds. We have the capacity to offer charitable receipting in Canada and a few states in the U.S. So if you'd like to if you'd like to partner with us on building this project, we are in the process of doing that right now. We want to
Hmm.
finish the film by next spring and test drive it in the summer with a release next fall. That's our dream. And so, if you'd like to be part of that financially, we would love that. We had some incredible people partner with us already. And so that, I just think it's really significant. One of the things I'm realizing over the course of my career is that the people with the money, whether it's $20 or $100,000, those people are just as integral as the folks as our company that's creating it. We work hand in glove. We need to work together to do that,
Hmm.
and so we've seen that happen. We've seen the significance of building those partnerships, and we'd love for you, if that's on your heart, to be part of that as well. And you can find all that info on our website,
Yeah.
PresenceCreativeArts.com. So, yep.
Yep. And there'll also be a direct link in the description box of this video as well. All
Cool.
right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Take care.